Welcome along to the second part of our Ed Sheeran webpage tutorial, where we are creating ourselves a webpage all about Ed Sheeran. In the first part of the video we created this using HTML. What we're going to do now is add in a style sheet or a CSS document to make this webpage look good. So you need to be still in brackets to do this, and we're going to make ourselves a new file. So go up to File, press New, and you get a blank page that comes up. Before you start writing anything, I just want you to go to File and Save As, and I want you to go into your documents, find your Ed Sheeran folder that you created before, and I want you to write style.css for the name of this. Okay, this needs to be saved in your Ed Sheeran folder. It must be called style.css. Okay, if you don't get that name, it's not going to work properly. But once you've got that name, click Save, and you're now ready to start styling up your web page. Alright. Now before we start styling this web page, we actually have to connect our HTML document to our CSS document so that those changes will take place. So let's go back to our HTML up here on the left hand side, and I want you to find your head section, and below the title we're going to add in a line of code. And basically all we need to write is link rel equals style sheet, and then href, oops, spell this right in a sec, href equals, and I want you to select style.css, close your pointy brackets. That line of code there basically says we're linking up a style sheet, and this is where it is found. It's called style.css. When you save that up now, your HTML page is connected to this style sheet. Okay, so whatever formatting we put in this style sheet here is going to be applied to our web page. Okay, so let's start simple. Let's start by changing the background color of the web page. Okay, so the way we do that is we look at the tags in our HTML document here and work out which ones we want to format or which ones we want to style up. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to style up these HTML tags. That means everything inside of these HTML tags is going to be affected. Okay, so back in my style sheet now, I'm going to write in HTML. I don't have to do the pointy brackets anymore, I just have to write the name of what's inside of those pointy brackets. So I write HTML. Now I'm going to use curly braces, okay, to write in my formatting. So open up some curly braces, and down in between those curly braces we're going to change the background color. So we just write in the word background, and you can choose any color. You can either write in the word, for example blue, or you can type in a hexadecimal value, so hashtag, and you can have one like FFDA95. Okay, hexadecimal values are 6 numbers and letters in length. Okay, and you can Google search all the different hexadecimal values if you'd like to use one of them. And make sure you put a semicolon at the end of the line just to say I've finished that line of code. Okay, press Ctrl S to save it, and go and have a look at your web page now, and you'll have a background color sitting in there. So I've got this nice light orange. Alrighty. One thing you can do if you're not happy with your background color is you can come over here and you can right click on that and go quick edit, and a little color box will come up, and that will allow you to move that little thing around there and just grab a color that you're happy with, and then you can just hit the cross to close it. So that's how we change the background color of our web page. The other thing I want to do is put in some padding. Okay, it's not going to make too much sense to you yet, but I'll show you what that does. You probably won't even see too much of it, but I'm going to put in 5 pixels of padding and save that. And that basically puts, you can just see some blue lines running around the edge of my page there, just showing me the guides of where my padding is. Just puts a little bit of breathing room between the text and the pictures and the edge of the page. Okay, so they're not right on the edge of the web browser. Alrighty, those blue lines actually won't appear in your web page. It's just because I'm using brackets now. It's just showing me, giving me an idea of where that padding is. Okay, so padding is basically breathing room around the edge of a document. Alright, so that's all we're going to do for our HTML tags. Okay, that's our HTML section styled up. What we're going to do now is we're going to style up the body section. Okay, so everything inside the body tags are going to be affected. So back on our style sheet, we're going to write in the body tag and open up some curly braces. Now what I want to affect here is the font. Okay, this font here with little caps on the end of the letters is known as a serif font. Okay, and they're not very easy to read on a screen or a web page. So what I want you to do is I want you to write font-family. I want you to choose sans serif. Put a semicolon at the end of the line. And what that does is changes our font now from a serif font to a sans serif font, which gets rid of those little caps on the end of the letters. If you press Ctrl S to save it and go and have a squiz, you'll see that we've now got a different font, which is easier to read on a screen. After that, I'm going to put in font size, or font dash size, and write 1EM. Now 1EM means the most appropriate size for the screen we are using. Okay, so get in the habit of using 1EM for your font size. And the last thing I want to change is line dash height. This is the line spacing. And I want you to put in 1.5 EM for your line height. And then put a semicolon at the end of the line. That's basically saying we're using 1.5 line spacing. That'll put a little bit of a gap between each line of text to make it easier to read. Okay, so I've just saved that. There's the preview. So you've got a nice simple font, a little bit of a gap between each line to make it easy to read. Alright, so that's looking good. That's our body section all styled up. Next thing I'm going to style up is this heading at the top here. Okay, we can add a bit of colour to it and make it a little bit different than what it is now. Alright, so back in my code, I just want to style that heading. So I'm just going to style up the H1 tags. Alright, so back in my style sheet, I'll just write in the H1 tags. Open up some curly braces, and first thing I'm going to do is change the colour of that font. So just write in the word colour. I'm going to use another hexadecimal value, so a hashtag. I'm going to use 8B152C. Put a semicolon. You can write in a colour if you want, like red or green, yellow, whatever you want, but I'm just going to use that little colour there, which is like a dark red. And that's what it's looking like at the moment. Don't worry about these blue lines. Okay, that's just brackets showing us what section we're working on at the moment. Alright, so apart from the colour, there's a few things I want to change. I want to change the font family. Okay, before we change all of our font to sans serif, what I'm going to do now is just change the H1 font to a fantasy font. Sounds all well and good, like it's a cool fantasy font, but really it's just something simple like that, just an impact kind of font. Yours might be a little bit different to mine, just depends what computer you're looking at. We're going to change the font size. Okay, the H1 heading is a good size, but it still looks a little bit small for my liking. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write in 4EM for the font size, which makes it 4 times its usual size. If we go and have a look at it now, you can see that that font is getting nice and big, so 4 times its usual size. And the last thing I want to do is put all of that text into capital letters. So we can do that by writing text transform, and we're simply going to write in uppercase. Put a semicolon at the end of the line. So text transform, we'll just transform that H1 text or the heading into uppercase letters. Save that now, test it out, and you can see all uppercase letters in a nice big font. Looks like a good heading. Okay, so I'm going to leave that as is now. That's our H1 heading all styled up. The next thing what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the H3 headings. So down the bottom here, these little headings that says, let's say top 5 singles and top 3 albums. We might give them a bit of colour as well. So in your style sheet, let's write in H3. Open up our curly braces and we'll just change the colour. You can pick whatever colour you want. You see brackets even gives you some hints for different colours. Okay, but again I'm going to use hexadecimal values. I'm going to write in D3, what else we got, 501F. Put a semicolon, and that colour there is like a darkish orange. If I save that, you'll see I've got like a darkish orange now across the names, all the subheadings there. Alright, that's looking good. So the last thing I want to style up now is the picture. Okay, so our picture is in this tag here, the image tag. Alright, so let's style up the image tag. So in our style sheet, just write IMG, open up your curly braces, and we're going to write in width. And you can choose a width for your picture. I'm going to choose 400 pixels. You can save that and test it just to see if it looks any good. You can make it a bit bigger or a bit smaller depending on how big you want it, but I think that's a pretty good size. Back into this image tag, I'm also going to put a border around the picture, and it's going to be 5 pixels. Okay, not only that, I'm going to put a space and I'm going to make it a solid border. You can have different types of borders like dashed borders or dotted borders and whatnot, but I just want a solid one. That's a solid line. And I'm going to choose the color for my border. I'm going to put in D87, D23 and put a semicolon. So what I've done on that line is done 3 values in one hit. So our border is 5 pixels in size. It's a solid border and it's got that color. Okay, so that orangey kind of color. If you save that up and test it, you'll see now we've got a border around our page. I'll just have to get out of that set of brackets so brackets doesn't change its color. There we go, you've got a nice little orange border around our picture. And the last thing I want to do is put some padding between the image and the actual border itself. I'm going to put in 2 pixels of padding. If you get your little semicolon at the end there, save it up and you'll see now there's just a little bit of a line between the image and the border. Let me just click out of that so you can see the orange color. There we go. So having a look at that web page now, I'm pretty happy with it. Nice colorful heading. Got our paragraph of text. The image looks nicely styled. And our little lists down here, the ordered list and the unordered list also look good. Remember, the website down the bottom would work. It would open up in a new tab, but I'm not connected to the internet, so I can't test that here for you today on the video. But you can test it on yours. Alrighty, so that's all done. So just double check that your CSS matches mine and it's doing everything it should. Make sure there's no issues. And back on the HTML, hopefully your HTML looks the same as mine as well. Alright, so you've learned quite a bit in this tutorial. Hopefully you're starting to make a little bit of sense of what HTML is and how it can affect a web page, and then what the style sheet is and how it's used to make our web pages look pretty. Alright, we'll catch you in the next video.